I'm Alex Paul, editor-at-large with Electronic Design, and I'm here at the Embedded Open Source Summit with Tim Bird and Kate Stewart, the two co-chairs of the program committee. How's it going?
Oh, it's going very well. We're very excited. We've got a large crowd here this year, and we're looking forward to a lot of great sessions.
Has it been a good show for you, Kate?
Yeah, it has. We've got over 800 people here in person.
800?
Over 800, yeah. We'll figure out what the final numbers are at the end of the week, and there's over 450 online virtually as well. So we're trying to basically be a good inclusive event for a lot of embedded people now.
Well, I've noticed that for events now, post-COVID, you have to have an online component now because there are people who aren't going to show up. What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
Well, I think COVID has actually been really interesting, the way it's changed the dynamics of conferences. We didn't used to have as big a virtual component, but these days we do, and I think it's actually beneficial because people can participate in the conference from around the world, and then even with our particular virtual platform we're using, people can stream it at a time that's more convenient for them, so you eliminate that travel. And so I think going forward we're going to see people, that's a norm for a conference to have that virtual access for people.
I have a question. When it comes to that virtual access, how much do you feel that it's enabling people who never had a chance to go, and how many are people who were going but decided to stay home?
It's definitely enabling a lot of people in places where it's hard to get visas to travel from to suddenly be able to be present. The challenge right now is trying to get that bi-directional communication happening, and the COVID area did bring a lot of surge on technologies for this. I think we still have a ways to go for it to be more seamless. We're experimenting with other systems, but with the platform here, people can watch the live stream and ask questions in the chat, and there's usually someone in the room to relay them on, and basically have some interaction. Now, I'd love to have more, but we'll get there.
It looks like you are. This is really a healthy crowd today. Now, I was noticing yesterday you had the Women in Engineering luncheon and all. Was there a formal title for the group?
Yeah, it was basically the Linux Foundation believes in improving diversity, and so we have a women and non-binary lunch so that people can meet each other and form little support groups when they're being surrounded. And so we actually had I met a lot of new faces, and so it was really exciting. A lot since Zephyr, embedded Linux, and so forth, to see a lot of women starting to show up.
Very nice.
Space, because the embedded space is the fun part.
Well, as my audience knows, I love the embedded space myself. I'm a big fanboy. Now, speaking of the tech, I noticed there's a lot of people talking about Zephyr right now, right? Can you say a little bit about? There's a big presence here at the show today.
Oh yeah. So my specialty is Linux, and what we've found, that Linux, we'd like Linux to be in everything, but of course it doesn't meet everybody's requirements. And so I think there's a really good synergy between Zephyr as kind of a lower end RTOS and Linux as kind of, filling the upper end of the spectrum. But I'm not the expert there, so I'll let Kate say a little bit more.
Yeah. We started Zephyr off because Linux didn't get small enough, right, for the sensors and actuators in some cases, and things that are resourced for power constraints. So it has common technologies with Linux, so it makes it very easy to go from embedded Linux to Zephyr, and vice versa. Things like the Kconfig ecosystem is all there. The device trees, we share device trees as mechanisms for explaining the hardware. So there's the maintainer structures or subsystems. It's very familiar for engineers in both to be moving back and forth between both of the environments, just depending on what they're trying to accomplish.
Got it. Now, Tim, there's a lot of hardware here, but it's interesting that a lot of it is proprietary silicon running this open source software. What about the RISC-V people, the Raspberry Pi people? Where are your open source hardware friends out there?
Well, we have a lot of open source hardware friends, and they have actually shown up in the past. So RISC-V has come to Embedded Linux Conference before, and I think you're seeing a big transition in the industry. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of interesting things going on in the open hardware space, but they do have some catching up to do. So as the companies here are presenting solutions for businesses, there's opportunities for all the different players.
What are your thoughts, Kate?
My thoughts are there's lots of openness in the ARM ecosystem already. There's things like the Whole Chips Alliance, where actually putting systems together is all being done in the open. And so the more we can keep things open and make it available, the more we can analyze systems for safety, which is an important thing. And from the in this
it could be.
No, it is. I care about it a lot.
I'm joking. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
she's also the chair of the Safety Summit, which is happening this week as well.
Oh, very cool. Now, before I,
Source needs to be there.
yeah, of course, it has to be there. And frankly, open source, I mean, you can have proprietary inside the box, but the outside of the box has to be able to communicate with the rest of the world.
Yeah, and I'd say, having it so that you have multiple eyes, having looked at things that are inside the box, makes it that much more reliable.
There you go. Now, before I let you go, do you have any final words for our audience about the show or about the marketplace or anything you'd like to leave us with?
Well, if you are interested in this, feel free to register for the virtual part, because there's still a lot more good content to come, and you'll have access to the content that's already been there already.
I would say that even after all these years, Linux has been used and embedded for probably over 30 years now. And even after all these years, we're finding it getting into new markets. So one of the emphasis of this particular conference is we're have a little bit of a focus on aerospace. And so one of the keynotes we just had was about Linux use in space vehicles. And it's a great industry to be in. It's super exciting.
I can agree with you completely, both of you. And I thank you so much for taking the time at this obviously busy event to give us some time. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.